I never thought a Tuesday night in small-town Arkansas could feel like the end of the world. I was 28, living in a cramped duplex on the edge of Magnolia, juggling a soul-draining job at the local hardware store and my only companion, Scout, a scrappy golden retriever mix I'd rescued from the pound 2 years ago. That dog was my family, my lifeline, and apparently someone else had a vendetta against him. It started with the subtle stuff. Scout would limp after walks, whine for no reason, refuse his favorite treats. I chalked it up to age. He was only 6, but maybe something was off. Then came the vomiting. I cleaned up more vomit in those 2 weeks than I ever thought possible. I took him to the vet. Toxins. Someone's been feeding him something harmful, she said, her voice tight with concern. I froze. Someone feeding him? My neighbor, Old Man Harper, had a reputation for hating animals. He had a shriveled-up face, one lazy eye, and a voice that always reminded me of gravel scraping across wood. I wouldn't put it past him, my vet murmured after I explained the signs. I knew he was capable. Last summer he yelled at me for letting Scout bark in the yard for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I thought I was imagining it, that maybe paranoia was creeping in. But when Scout collapsed one night, shaking violently on the kitchen floor, and I found a half-eaten piece of what smelled like poisoned meat in the yard, that was the line. That was it. I sat on the floor beside him, tears streaming down my face, smelling the coppery stench of his blood and bile. I won't let you take him, Harper. I swear. I'll make you regret this, I whispered. My hands trembled, not just with grief, but with a dark, burning need for justice. That's when the thought hit me, the thought I tried to push away because I'm not a violent person, not by nature. But anger has a way of whispering things you never knew you could do. I started watching Harper. His nightly routine, his walks to the corner store, the way he left the back gate unlocked. Every detail became a potential weapon. Every careless glance from him was fuel. And the more I watched, the more I realized I was already planning something deliberate, something cruel. I never imagined I could go down this road. But when someone deliberately harms what you love most, the rules change. I spent the next week watching Harper like a hawk. I took notes. Every morning, he shuffled out in his ratty bathrobe, muttering to himself about those damned mutts. I caught him once throwing something over the fence, something wrapped in plastic. Scout had barked and lunged, but I grabbed him just in time. My blood boiled. I wanted to confront him. I wanted to scream, but I held back. Patience was part of the plan now. Late one night, I called my friend Jamie, who worked at the gas station, voice shaking. Jamie, I think Harper's trying to hurt Scout. Caught him. I don't know what to do. Damn, man. You gotta call the cops, Jamie said, hesitating. I can't. They won't believe me. It's him against me and my word. He's clean. Too clean. This town loves a grumpy old man who yells at dogs. They'll see me as the crazy one. I hung up and stared at Scout sleeping on the couch. His body curled into mine like he could sense the storm brewing. That night, I lay awake, listening to the creaks in Harper's house. Every footstep, every door slam, every cough. My mind spun with possibilities, each darker than the last. Then came the first real mistake. Harper left his back door ajar after one of his late-night walks. It was like the universe was handing me the key. I slipped through the shadows to the backyard, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I could hear Scout whining softly from the living room. He knew. I froze, staring at the man's kitchen light glowing yellow through the window. I could see him fumbling with something, maybe a snack, maybe poison. I don't know. What I do know is that my hands were trembling, and something inside me snapped. That week, I prepared. I cleaned the garage, gathered tools, studied Harper's habits. Every night, I rehearsed my moves in my mind, imagining the sweet, satisfying look of fear in his eyes when he realized I had turned the tables. I wasn't going to just confront him. I wasn't going to let him off easy. I wanted him to feel, truly feel, the helplessness he had tried to impose on Scout. I remember standing at my kitchen window one night, Scout lying at my feet, and whispering, "You took my friend. You tried to kill him." Now you're going to understand. I knew the line between justice and vengeance had blurred. I didn't care. Not anymore. And then, Friday night, the opportunity presented itself. Harper had gone to the corner store, leaving the back gate unlocked again. The smell of rain hung in the air, thick and earthy, masking my approach. I slipped through the yard, heart hammering, each step a countdown. I paused, listening. Nothing but the wind and the distant bark of a neighbor's dog. I clenched my fists, tasting the adrenaline, tasting the anticipation of what was about to come. This wasn't just about Scout anymore. This was about sending a message, about balance, about fear. I waited until Harper's headlights disappeared down the cracked asphalt of our street. The rain-slicked yard glistened under the flickering porch light, each drop a tiny drumbeat in my chest. Scout sat beside me, tail stiff, eyes wide and alert. I whispered, "Tonight, it ends." I approached the back door slowly, feeling the weight of every second, every decision. My fingers grazed the handle, cold metal under my palm. I peeked inside. The kitchen was empty, dimly lit, just like I remembered. I had spent days preparing, imagining this moment in meticulous detail. And now it was here. I did it quietly at first. I moved his things, rearranged them, left subtle signs, nothing overt, just enough to make him question his own safety. But the main act, the heart of my revenge, was waiting in the pantry. I had found a small bottle of something he kept hidden, a potent insecticide, sharp and chemical, the kind that could ruin a man if used correctly. I didn't have to touch him to scare him. I only had to make him realize the tables had turned. The next morning, Harper returned. I watched from my window as he approached the porch, drenched and muttering. I had left a note. "You thought you could hurt him. Now feel the fear you planted." I slipped inside while he was distracted, leaving small, harmless signs. Spilled flour across the counter, a chair slightly tipped, a lingering smell of the chemical. Nothing deadly, but enough to unsettle him. When he stepped into the kitchen, his face paled. His hand shook as he held the note. What the hell?" he muttered. His usual gravelly voice cracked. I could see it, the fear, the helplessness. The man who had tried to poison my best friend was now realizing that someone had been inside his house, watching, knowing. Scout barked once from the couch, tail wagging, as if to say, "It's done." And in that moment, I felt a weight lift from my chest. It wasn't the poisoning that mattered. It was the reversal of power, the knowledge that Harper would never look at me or any dog the same way again. Later, when my hands stopped trembling, I sat on my porch with Scout, rain dripping off my hair, and thought about what I had done. Harsh? Maybe. Cruel? Perhaps. But necessary? Absolutely. I kept thinking about that moment on the kitchen floor, when Scout had looked at me with those trusting eyes. Everything else had been justified. I know some people might call this vigilante nonsense. Maybe it is. But here's what I can't shake. Harper hasn't tried anything again. Scout sleeps soundly, unharmed. And every time I see that old man scowl across the fence, I feel victorious. Edit. For anyone asking, no, I didn't call the cops, and yes, I'm aware this borders on illegal. But I also know I saved my dog, and sometimes that's the only measure of right in this small town. Has anyone else ever had to go to extreme lengths to protect something you love? How did you deal with the moral aftermath?